Okay, very excited to be joined by guest Chris 7th FCC 45 for the newly created Legacy belt, stepping into the cage one final time against a fellow legend of UK MMA, Martin Stapleton. Chris, how are you doing, man?
I feel good, mate. I'm ready to fight now. I'm ready to put a show on.
Of course, we're recording this on Tuesday, the 3rd. Like we say, the 7th, we'll see you in the cage for the final time. What are the thoughts, the emotions that come to mind now that we are so close to something
Uh,
you've done for such a long part of your life come to
yeah,
an end?
the emotions have been all over the place, to be honest, because like drawing a line in the sand and saying I'm not going back. It's hard, especially because, as you said, I've been doing it for all my life. I've been doing it since I started training when I was 13. Had my first fight at 16, turned pro at 18. So 21 years as a pro, it's all I've known. And just to put a line in it now, don't get me wrong, it's good and bad, so now I can enjoy life a bit more and not be as strict, but also sucks because I don't get to compete anymore.
Yeah, I think it's always good when you're able to kind of leave on your own terms. But why was now the right time for you?
Um, well, my last fight was against Callum, and it was a good performance, and I was going to call that the last fight, but because I'd done a lot of damage in the first round, and then he smashed my leg in the second round, and I ended up losing the fight. I thought I wasn't too happy with the rest of the performance. I thought I could have pushed a little more. I thought I could have give a little more in the fight. So I think it kind of left a bit of taste in my mouth, and then I was finishing. I started my career in three places. It was Belfast, Liverpool, and Amsterdam. So I wanted any of those three places to fight, and then FCC had offered me this against someone who's another UK legend, against Stapleton. We used to train together, so I mean, it seems like the perfect time to buy out. Like I don't really think there's a more poetic way to go.
Yeah, and like we touched on, FCC are introducing a legacy title for this fight. You see the comments from people that have been around the game for a long time as well. When that first got announced, a lot of people are very excited for this. So, what does it mean to get that recognition from FCC, but also from your peers as well?
You know what? It's good. I said this earlier on to FCC. Like, it feels like you're finally being noticed. As I said, okay, I've had my career ups and downs. I've been out of the game for a long time. My coaches wouldn't get me fights, and I was inactive for a long time. But I knew I was at a decent level, and I was at a high level. So finally, for FCC to be like, like you have helped build the sport. The reason me and Stapes are fighting for this is we fought in sports halls in front of 100 people with men smoking rolled up cigarettes, and room filled with smoke, and people were fighting in the crowd. We've done all that, so we've been through all that to kind of build what the sport is now, the spectacle that is UFC and MMA. So to be recognized for that, I think it's a cherry on the top. It means a lot to me, to be honest.
Obviously, you seem very set on this decision to retire. But I mean, obviously, if you do get your hands on the belt, will there be that temptation to kind of defend it? And
They,
is there a guy who's got that same profile that you have, that Martin has, that you would like to defend it against, or is that just not?
Nah, not really. Not unless, I mean, everybody wants to avenge a loss, don't they? And there's one or two that I lost that I shouldn't have, and there's obviously people that I would have liked to fight, but I'll not defend it unless, no, in fact, I won't defend it. But if Japan come knocking and say, "Oh, here's 50 bags to come fight in Japan," I mean, I'm not saying no, but
Yeah,
in terms of domestic level and European level competition, I'm done after this.
yeah. Obviously, let's talk about the matchup. You know Martin very well. You touched on training together. I'm sure you've seen all of his fights as well. There's no secrets between you two here. So what are your thoughts on what Martin brings to the table at this point in his career as well?
I mean, he's tough, isn't he? He's tough as fucking nails. He always comes forward swinging. He puts on a display. He has cardio for days. So as you said, it's not really a surprise. He's got strong wrestling, strong top pressure, stocky build, so hard to get underneath him. Yeah, he brings a lot of challenges to the table, but I think my style matches slightly better than what his style matches against mine. I think the way I fight is more beneficial for me in this fight than the other way around.
Um, Obviously, you had your first amateur fight. You said it's been most of your life. It was in 2003 when you had your first amateur fight, which is, insane longevity in such a tough sport. So many people who are around the sport now wouldn't have seen it then. I mean, I was like 5 years old then. So I wasn't watching. Yeah, I won't bring that up. Um, but no, I'm just painting a picture. You touched on it a little bit there, but paint a picture of what MMA looked like in 2003 for people that don't know.
Oh wow. Tribal tattoos, gangsters, people walking around with gold chains and cigarettes in their mouth. Nobody could actually fight properly. Like a blue belt was something magical on the floor. You know, if you've seen a blue belt, no word of a lie, a blue belt was dangerous. Like if a blue belt got you on the ground, you're fucked. Like you're getting tapped. So MMA was a different thing. As I said, like it used to be in sports halls, church halls. It wouldn't be in big venues. You would get 200 people max. It's in a boxing ring as well, usually. So I think my first 10 amateur fights were all in a ring. They weren't even in a cage. Cage wasn't in the UK at the time. Oh, yeah. And amateur rules were a lot different as well. So there's none of this pseudo gloves or sparring gloves is what they call them now. You know, the 6, 7 ounce. We didn't fight in those. We fought in pro MMA gloves, so 4 ounce gloves. We fought 5 minute rounds. Um, you were allowed to knee to the head, but you weren't allowed to elbow. You could. You weren't allowed to heel hook and you weren't allowed to neck crank. And then, depending if you were amateur or semi pro, because that's how they got away around with headshots on the floor or not as well, even with small gloves. So it was a different, it's like night and day compared to what it is today.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, I remember hearing about that semi-pro rule set still going on, like even a few years ago. So
Yeah, it's crazy. I've seen all kinds. And ones with no low kicks or ones with no high kicks. Oh, it's crazy. MMA has gone through a mad stage.
weird. Um, I guess back then there was sort of no publicity behind MMA. It wasn't obviously the juggernaut sport that it was now. So how did you first become involved?
So long story short, I couldn't really play much other sports. My mom wouldn't let me stay in the house. I was obsessed with martial arts when I was a kid, and Ninja Turtles, Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, all those sort of things. I really liked the self discipline aspect, and if there was somebody picking on you, that idea of going away, training yourself, and then being able to fuck somebody up and standing up for yourself, like that kind of brought me to the sport. So I went into, in fact, I didn't even know it was MMA at the time, to be honest. I just kind of went into this gym, found out it was like a kung fu mixed with taekwondo, mixed with wrestling, mixed with boxing. And then it was just like everything thrown together. And I thought, wow, this is fucking crazy. So went once and was hooked straight away. And that was, I said, that would have been in 2001. So the sport wasn't even really the sport at the time. And then like probably UFC 10 or 20 or something, something really back in the day. So then as the sport grew, I kind of grew with that. And then I just kind of got addicted to that feeling. So I had my first fight, and then that was me hooked. I was like, wow, I want to do this. And then I just wanted to test myself. And every time I tested myself, I'd done better, or if I'd lose, I'd do something. I know it could have been better or could have performed better. So I would go back to the drawing board and work on it. And we didn't have YouTube and the internet and things like this back in the day. So you couldn't study tape on people and you didn't learn stuff. So if you seen something in a fight or you seen something in a drill, you got to learn by doing it. So a lot of the stuff you figured out by rolling, and obviously we'd all go wrong, we'd all strike wrong, but eventually certain things would click and stick, and that's kind of what made the old school fighters into the fighters that they are.
Yeah. So fast forward to 2026. In your
Mm.
wildest dreams, could you have imagined what the sport has become?
Yeah. I knew. You know what? I was kind of at the forefront of it back in the day, so I knew that this was going to be something big. I wanted to be a pioneer. I wanted to be spearheading the lead. I wanted to be fighting for world titles. I wanted to be fighting for the sport. If you get me, I wanted to bring the sport screaming and kicking to the forefront of the media to show, like, look, we're highly trained athletes. We're highly trained martial arts experts. We're not just head down swinging like a pub brawl or cockfighting, as they used to call it back in the day. So I knew it would be big. But all you had to do was you had to bring a friend. If you brought a friend to the gym, everyone who thought they were a tough guy, and you could strangle him in 5 seconds, and you could do that on repeat over and over and over. And you're like, look, this is fucking skillful. And then that kind of opened people's eyes. And then as fights got bigger, the Forrest Griffin, Stephan Bonner thing really blew up. Obviously, that helped MMA as a whole, not just UFC. So I knew it would be big. I didn't think it would be worth 7 billion. Like, to be honest, what I knew it would be big.
Yeah, I mean, there's something nice about you having that mindset even back then, and then still being the guy that gets to kind of live in that era of MMA now as well.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty cool. Me and somebody else were talking about this. Like, I've seen the evolution of the sport. Like, even when I'm grappling, like, some of my students will come and ask me, "Oh, have you seen this move?" And like, moves go through things. So like, even if you think of if you think of an Achilles lock, right, an ankle lock, a jiu-jitsu now they call it a trend lock. Back in the day, it used to be called a pato lock, and before that, it was called a short Achilles. So like, all these things come round in cycles. You know what I mean? So there's obviously, you're going to see new stuff and you see new superstars and people do things, but a lot of it is coming back. A lot of the older stuff is coming back, just a bit more reinvigorated or newer ways to get into it. So, I mean, it's great to see, and especially with now as well, to see the kids getting into it. The kids can do everything to such a high level. Like, they not even just high level strikers or grapplers, they're high level MMA. So they bleed their striking into the grapple, into the jiu-jitsu, back into the striking, and that's like, I mean, the kids here are ridiculous. Like, my training partner is Jack Grundy. I don't even think he was born when I had my first fight. And the kid is absolutely dynamite. Obviously, he trained with his dad for years. His dad's still my coach. But I mean, to see the kids now, like, wow, it's crazy.
Yeah, so that must make you think, if we think the sport is good now, what's it going to be like in 5 years' time, 10 years' time?
Wow. Incredible. You're going to see these kids doing some spectacular things, I think. Some really high level kids.
Yeah. Look, one fight that you feel sums up the journey, one thing that you want fans to remember your career by, what is it?
One thing I want the fans to remember my career by. It's a good question. Someone who always was there, always tried, and never backed down from a fight ever. I always looked for the hardest fights. I think my record kind of involves that or shows that, because I just wanted to fight. Like, there used to be a saying back in the day, and it was DJs are for records, because no one cared about records. We just wanted to fight. So I'd like to be remembered as someone who gave the sport pretty much everything. I want to be remembered for someone who helped bring the sport to the forefront. I want to be remembered for being a high level, good training partner, because I've been a training partner for, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 guys in the UFC alone, let alone the domestic level, PFL level, Bellator level, and obviously the guys coming up now. So I've always had, I've always had time in the gym served, so I've always been there for people that needed it, even sacrificing my own health for teammates and things like that. So that's how I'd like to be remembered. And you know what? Someone who just didn't give a fuck, someone who just liked to fight, didn't care.
Yeah, of course. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time today, Chris. FCC 45 going down this Saturday, Liverpool Olympia, streaming on UFC Fight Pass if you can't get down. Of course, the Legacy title is on the line. Chris Stringer taking on Martin Stapleton. Give us the hard sell. Look down that camera. What can the people expect, my friend?
Listen, if you want to just watch two guys going at it, who have seen everything, been everywhere, not scared to have a fight, not scared to get punched in the face, ready for a war, two warriors who are going to go out on their shield. Trust me, you do not want to miss this fight. I called it last time. Me and Callum got fight of the year. This one will be no different. This will be fight of the night for sure on FCC.
Perfect. I'm very excited to watch you and Martin throw down. Thanks for the time today, Chris. Best of luck.
Brilliant, my man. Thank you. Cheers, bud.